This is certainly frightening. How are you?
How's it going? Doing good yourself?
Good. Yeah, I kept getting the times mixed up. I've been here for about an hour.
Oh
But
wow. No.
it's all right. It's on me. I'm old. I can't read. That's right.
No. Well, so we won't chalk that up to that because I won't lie. I have a very strong fear of misremembering time. So like I hyper focus on it unless I kept going back and double checking. It's like just want to make sure. I just want to make sure I didn't say the wrong thing. So no, but but I'm glad you could make it. And appreciate you taking time because I know you got San Diego Con stuff going on this week too.
Oh,
So.
no,
Oh,
no,
you're not
no.
going?
No, Priest does not do San Diego.
Oh no, no,
The,
no. That sounds like a story.
the only times I do San Diego is when I'm dragged there. I think Nick Barucci, flew out to my house and dragged me to the airport once and made me go. But I really don't, I really don't handle crowds and lots of noise very well.
Mhm.
And San Diego, New York, C2E2, these are meccas for crowds and noise. And San Diego is just unprecedented. It's too much input. It's like, I have to go into therapy after, after
Oh man.
attending that convention, where it takes like 45 minutes to get from my table to, let's say I have a panel, in one of the meeting rooms upstairs. It could take 45 minutes for me to get there because it's that crowded. I mean, San Diego is, it's the real deal. If you really want to go to a show. Now, I'm going to be at Terrificon. That's at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. That's not quite the size of San Diego, but it's close. That's going to be a real show. It's everybody. There's going to be a whole bunch of folk there, and it's at this real swanky joint out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm getting dragged to that, so I will be there, but no, I will not be at San.
Well, I imagine at Terrificon it won't take you 45 minutes to get from one spot to the next. Either
You'd be surprised.
Oh wow!
Hopefully not, but last time I was there, it was a pretty good rodeo there. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh well, I'll be praying for you.
I'll take it.
Well, I was gonna say, and I wanted to kind of get these ahead of time because sometimes people's attention spans lapse after a while. But I wanted to say, for one, welcome to the show. By the way, for those, just in case, for whatever reason, I know there's one person here who already knows, but just in case no one else does, I don't know how you don't, but we're gonna just say it now. We got Chrsitopher Priest in the building. Legend in the business, has probably written at least 10 things you've read at some point or another. Maybe, I don't know. But more recently, you've been doing work on Vampirella. You've done work for like Deathstroke and Justice League, Superman. And originally was a Falcon at Marvel. U.S. Agent, and not the least of which are like Black Panther that you did for Marvel, but you've got also one of my favorite comics, Quantum and Woody, under your belt as well, and you've got Sonja Reborn on the way, which is gonna be just for everybody. Put this on your calendars. And if you haven't done so already, you should probably go to your LCS and maybe lock this down. But Sonja Reborn's to be coming out in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think it's August 6th or August 9th, something like that.
Yeah, it'll be August 6th. So go get it. There's lots of really cool stuff. Like there's lots of really cool covers, variants and whatnot. And
yeah, but you're not pitching it right. We gotta pitch it better than that.
Yeah, we gotta put respect on it. We gotta put respect on it.
Well, it's like this is such a different. Like I caught your show where you were taking me to task about the world to come, and we're going to talk about that.
I
Uh,
figured we would.
you know, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There was another content creator
Mhm.
who covered. It was quite a few who covered it, but there was
Yeah.
one brother in particular, and I'm sorry I can't call his name, and I probably wouldn't if I could, but I honestly can't call his name. But this guy just went after me. I mean, he just oh my god, and and I think he went like into a part two. I think he came back next week and said, "And now for more,"
Damn.
so uh, I my takeaway from that was that I think it wasn't even so much that the fellow was that the brother was angry. I think the brother was hurt. I think he was like, you said something about like I was really enjoying it to that last page,
Yeah.
and I'm impressed that you didn't just skip to the last page or that you didn't just read the articles online. I was looking at Screen Rant or whatever that was.
Oh god. Yeah.
And they just covered issue 2 of The World to Come, and it's supposedly a review of the book, but what it is it's a recitation of the plot, and it's just like plot, 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 surprise, 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 plot, 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 plot,
Mhm.
plot, plot, plot. And here's some ads. Buy this monkey bar, or whatever, right? And I'm just so angry about that because I'm like, it takes away
Mhm.
the fun of fandom.
Mhm.
Ernie is that punch in the face, is that
Mhm.
page turn where all of a sudden it's Doctor Doom. It's, oh wow, look, it's Doctor Doom. Although nowadays I think that you turn the page and it's Doctor Doom and you go, oh, it's Doctor Doom again, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So The World to Come, you turned the page and it was like a real slap in the face, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't Doctor Doom. It wasn't
No.
like, oh, here's like, okay, his Batroc the Lipper, oh, no, his Batroc again, blah, blah, blah. It was like, holy hell, what's going on here? And I went, and that's what we live for as creators, as comic book creators. That's what we live for. So issue 2, we have a bunch of that. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there. We worked really hard on this. This is years in the making.
Mhm.
Joe Quesada is drawing his toes off on this book. I mean, there's stuff, there's little nuances in there
Mhm.
all over the place, little Easter eggs and stuff, all kinds of stuff in there. And these schmucks, I believe it's Screen Rant. If it wasn't Screen Rant,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're not schmuck.
It was probably Screen Rant.
And these schmucks, they just reveal. So there's no point, so you don't have to read the book anymore because it's like, oh, here's all the secrets explained. Here's what happens on page 2, and here's the final page of the book, the big surprise ending of the book. And I'm going, I wish you wouldn't do that. I wish you would, yes, let's discuss it. Yes, let's hype it. Let's criticize it. Let's go after the author. Let's do all of those things. But let's give the readers, let's give the fans a chance to experience this thing as fans. Don't just ruin everything. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, that's why I usually try to like insert like more instead of just doing like the plot. I usually try to like give like, well,
Right,
maybe
some
let me talk
commentary.
about why.
Right.
Let's talk about the why this is happening, less that it's happening, and like
You were one of the few people that saw that last page and went, aha,
Yeah.
I know what's going on here. Okay, this guy connects to that guy. And I
Right.
was like, wow, okay, and that's why I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
Because
Well-
a lot of these people who are out there doing all this, and the white guys are going, yeah, and the black guys are going, boo, and the liberals are after me, and the conservatives are after me, and the white people hate me, and the black people hate me, and and all that other crap. But most of the shouting is being done by people who don't read the comics, who have never read the comics, who don't understand, who don't understand, the genre that we're working in, and who didn't get the last page. You got it. You went, all right, this guy looks familiar. Okay. And instead of us talking about who the guy was, or the in put it another way, the content of this character, we got all hung up in a discussion about the guy's skin color, which kind of took me by surprise because and I'm so naive, Ernie. I thought that I told Joe, I said, well, when I saw the last page, I said, well, Joe, you're giving away the store. Because anybody who read our comic, they're going to see this guy. They're going to know who the guy is. They're going to know what we're up to. They're going to go, oh, we know what's going to happen. And so you're just giving away the plot line. And to my chagrin and surprise, most of these people missed it, but they didn't really miss it. It's like somebody wrote a headline. Somebody got the book, read it or whatever, wrote a headline. And then somebody, and actually the headline was wrong. It said, here's the new white Black Panther. Okay, which is just ridiculous because the tribal contest was not over yet. So the guy's not the Black Panther. The headline was wrong in the first place, but somebody read that headline, wrote their own headline, wrote their headline about that headline. And then the third person wrote a headline about the other two headlines, and then we're off to the races. And everybody's like, headline. And it's just, and now I'm like in the witness protection program. It's like, wow, what's going on here? But the people who actually know our book, who read the original Marvel Knights, who knew what was going on, they got to that last page, and instead of becoming enraged about the color of the guy's skin, they knew who the guy was. They knew who the character was. And they went, ha! And you were one of those people, so thank you. That's why.
I appreciate you putting respect to my name. I was the thing I just thought was kind of funny about it was, I never felt like at any point that I was supposed to cheer for Katama. I didn't feel like that was what I did. I don't ever like to presume I know what someone's thinking, but that's just kind of the vibes I feel. I was like, well, this feels well. It is, especially the second issue. I was like, well, nobody really seems happy that he's. I was like, this is but that so, and that kind of lends itself to the larger point of that, media literacy gets lost, and sometimes when we read stories, and I think I even talked about this not too long ago about there was a comic that Greg Pak and Evan Narcisse had written for Marvel, the recent Sam Wilson Captain America, and there's a scene at the end where there's a very clear depiction that Captain America and the rest of the gang have been enslaved, and they're picking fruit and vegetables or whatever for this white man. And I was like, look, I think the timing that this was released was pretty bad because I was like, Marvel dropped this shit smack in the middle of Black History Month. However,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
we didn't know it was coming out. Joe and I found out it was coming out when you found out it was coming out. We went, huh?
Right. I was like, oh, okay. And that's where I say my beef is not with the creative, but with the people who actually control when things come out, because I was like, timing can kind of make or break something, but in the case of those things I always say look, it might not be this amazing super ultra awesome thing that's gonna get you hype, but I said if it made you feel something,
right,
even if it was a negative, even if it was a negative feeling, there's plenty of comics and not even just comics, books, movies, TV shows that made me feel anger, genuine, actual anger. But a lot of the time, if I really sit down and think about it, I wasn't mad at the people who made it. I probably felt the emotion they wanted me to feel. And sometimes that doesn't feel good.
Narrative, but that's part of the narrative. To laugh, to cry, to be outraged, whatever, we are clearly on a journey, and I'll use another description of wow, I had a really good thought there, and it went flying out of my head.
That's me every day. I'm that's why I have to write stuff down. I'm I have to keep notes and index cards.
I do exactly the same thing. But there was when the whole when the whole Black Lives Matter movement began after this spate of police-involved, shootings. There was an opportunity in this country to have a dialogue, a real national discussion on race, and that discussion got hijacked by a discussion, by a debate over the Confederate flag. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You know, 'cause
Oh,
one
yes.
minute, one minute we're actually, you know, starting to talk about race. You know, we're starting to have this finally talk to each other. You know, and somehow it got like diverted into like, well, we should banish the Confederate flag, or we should get rid of these statues. Let's pull down the statues, get rid of the flag. Now, I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to stir up a debate about the statues of the flag. My point was, once, you know, certain governors or certain mayors or certain people started taking these flags down, we celebrated our Pyrrhic victory. We started high-fiving and going, we got this victory, but it shut down the discussion. Okay. And the same thing with the statues, you know, where I'm going, yeah, would I like the statue to come down? Yes, I'd like the statue to come down. But I look at it this way, you know, this statue means this thing to this person. It means that thing to that person, you know, and leaving that statue up there, you know, that gives me a chance to take my granddaughter and explain about this statue of Robert E. Lee, and how Robert E. Lee said out loud that he did not want any statues of himself ever put up. You know, where Robert E. Lee just retired into you know, into obscurity, and that's where he wanted it to be, and that those statues were put up for a specific reason, you know, to oppress us. You know, and that's, you know, so by taking that away and hiding it in a museum or putting it, you know, behind a water fountain or whatever they're doing with the statues, you know, it cheats us of the discussion. You know, and I would rather, like, you know, I'd rather not castigate my neighbors or my friends. I have neighbors and friends who believe in these statues and believe in these flags, you know, and they voted for a certain guy that I would never vote for, you know, and these are people that I love, and these people that love me, but they know I didn't vote for the guy. You see what I'm feeling?
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd rather we talk to each other than polarize these things where one group gets to have their way, you know, and you know, over anything else. So the thing about this outrage over our first issue of The World to Come is, you know, in a weird, twisted way, Ernie, we have brought people together because they all hate me, you know, and I go, and maybe if instead of, you know, yelling, if they would read the story and follow the story. I don't want them to have faith in me. I want them to have faith in T'Challa, because T'Challa is the smartest guy in the world, and he's the man with the plan, you know. And sometimes we forget that. Different writers write him differently, okay? But Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in Fantastic Four number 52, they wrote a story about a guy who was like this con man who was working the long con, okay? And he dragged the Fantastic Four all the way to Africa and ran game on them. Didn't he? Okay, but he's smarter, and he's craftier, and he's 5 steps ahead of his enemies. You know, and a lot of people who are just going, they really don't understand how the Black Panther character worked. Because if they did, they would go, I gotta see how this comes out.
Right. Right.
I would hope you would just fasten your seatbelt and join us for the journey. And I'm not asking for you to have faith in me, but have faith in T'Challa, because to me, the Black Panther is T'Challa. I would never race swap the Black Panther. That's ridiculous. Stop that. That's just stupid.
Well,
I would never do that. Have faith in T'Challa, because we know what we're doing.
Well, that
one
was
other spoiler. I'm sorry. One other spoiler.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, please go off.
Big spoiler. Superman won't stay dead.
No, you know, it's really funny.
Dead? He's not gonna stay dead. Who thought he was gonna stay dead? What idiot thought he was gonna stay dead? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Because so I remember being I was a kid when Death of Superman happened, and I remember that was my first experience with a superhero like dying in my lifetime, and it being made like this huge deal.
Yeah.
And then like I think it was less than 6 months later he was already back.
Yeah.
And it was like. And I remember like for me as a kid, you know, I was like, oh man, well, Superman's gone. Guess I'm not reading that anymore. And then,
nobody does that.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I was the editor. I was the editor of Transformers, and I produced Transformers #5, which was #5 in a 4-issue miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a 4-issue miniseries, and they decided to keep it going. So,
Mm-hmm.
just for laughs, so like #5 in a 4-issue miniseries, and the cover is a big painting. This is a Mark Bright, beautiful painting.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
And Shockwave is standing there, and he has used his laser gun to stencil into this wall behind him, "Are all dead." So it reads like the logo says, "The Transformers are all dead." I designed that cover. I sketched it out. I sent it to Mark. Mark said, "Oh, Jim, that's just stupid," because he says that to everything that he said that to everything. We sent this. He did this beautiful painting. We sent it off to Hasbro. I think Hasbro was the Transformers people.
Mm-hmm.
And they rejected the cover. And I said, well, why? What's wrong with the cover? And these people, they said, and this is a quote, "If the children believe that the Transformers are all dead, they'll stop buying the toys."
I mean,
I said to them, like, kids aren't that stupid.
No.
They know it's a comic book. They know we're up to something. Okay, they know Superman's not going to stay dead, but you enjoyed the story anyway, didn't you, Ernie?
Right. No, I mean, look, if I still kept watching Transformers after the it was the 85, 86 movie where Optimus Prime dies, I still kept watching. Because it was the promise of like, man, is he gonna come back? Is Optimus gonna come? So I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where like, yeah, when I would go to comic shops,
yeah,
it was this thing where like, I don't know, like I always was just curious to see what would happen next.
Yeah,
like I was like, oh wow, they're still gonna be making. Wait, Superman's dead, and there's like 4 people, and one of them could possibly be Superman, even though one of them obviously is. Clearly not. I was like, I'll just ride with it and just see what happens. And then, lo and behold, Superman comes back, and all is right with the world.
And it was a fun ride. It was a fun ride. It was a fun ride down. It was a fun ride back. Superman won't stay dead. Okay. Yeah. Black Panther is not. We would not race swap into Black Panther. Don't fall for that.
It was the Ryan Gosling of it all. Like it was because that was the thing. Like that's the argument racists use. They always say, "Oh, well, what if we race swap Black Panther? What if Black Panther were Asian?"
But does that necessarily make them racist though? That feels a little weird to me.
Well,
I want to walk that back. I want to just as an academic argument. Okay, mm-hmm. I understand the academic argument of it, and mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that the argument in and of itself would make somebody a racist. Now, mm-hmm. maybe if they had some context that was like racial or racist context, yeah. But I'm not mad at somebody for asking the question. Like we're race swapping all these people in one direction, and mm-hmm. finally Marvel did it in the other direction, which was never our story. Is not about race. Our story is about legacy. Mm-hmm. It's a Game of Thrones thing. Who will inherit the Wakanda throne? Our story is about aging. It's about comic book creators like Joe and myself, who are we're not at the end of our careers by any means, but. We're certainly a lot farther along than we did before.
I think you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, but the industry is changing, and they're looking at me the way we used to look at Denny O'Neil when Denny O'Neil was kind of the old man of the sea, and John Romita Sr. was kind of the elder statesman.
Yeah,
we're now becoming the elder statesman, which is really weird to us. But it's about this. It'll happen to you too. Where
no, they're already looking at me.
You get to a point where people are calling you sir.
I've already gotten the man. I used to watch you when I was in like high school or middle school. Like, whoa. Calm down. Yeah,
that's what the book is about. This book is just about us. It's about a generation of comic book creators, who have reached a certain stage in life, and it presents some anxieties. It presents some questions, and now who will take over? Who will be who will we hand this legacy over to? So I'm just hoping to not get distracted into a nutty conversation about the Confederate flag or Ryan Gosling
No.
or whatever the hell, because I don't want my book hijacked by this
No.
stupidity. So all you people
No.
writing headlines, write that one. Priest does not want his book hijacked by the stupidity. Okay.
That's why I've been having fun with it. That's like I've been like, look, I'm gonna poke fun. I'm gonna have fun with it. I'm gonna make jokes, and because to me, I'm like, dude, this is kind of a gold mine for someone like myself who just really enjoys having fun with comics. I love when comics do things that are kind of off the beaten path, or as long as it's fun. I mean, I'm having fun, so
because you're not reading the same comic over and over again. Right. You might think it's like when I watch the pilot episode, the pilot cartoon of Invincible. Now I had to be forced to watch that because I'm not so much with the cartoons. Okay. But somebody forced me, said you must watch this. So I'm watching this thing, and Ernie, I couldn't be more bored. I'm going, what the hell am I looking at? And I'm going. And it's just every cliche in the book, and you're going, oh my God. And then what was it, 10 minutes, 5 minutes before the end of the episode, what's his name? The dad. What's his dad's name?
Oh, Omni-Man, yeah.
Omni-Man goes nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on my couch, and I'm watching this, and I'm going, what am I looking at? What's happening? Holy God, what's going on here? And that's when you realize, oh, this is not the same crap. This is Kirkman is taking you somewhere new,
right?
And I went,
you just have to be along.
That's what we were trying to do. We weren't trying to cause a stir or anything like that. We're just trying to not do the same old crap over and over again. And I think that's a goal. That's a worthy goal to do. The other thing I just want to say while I got the platform, while people are writing headlines, is that this fella who was very upset, whose name I can't remember, but this brother who was really upset, he more or less accused me of either not being black or not wanting to be black, because I frequently said something about I objected to being labeled as a black writer. I am a writer who happens to be black. And his argument was like, well, no, you're a black writer because you're black, this other stuff, so I just want to make this clear, is that, it's a distinction like this, by my not allowing people, if I allow anyone to label me, including you or this guy, to tell me who I am, then I'm doing myself and the industry a disservice. Because of my refusal to be labeled as a black writer and limited to only writing black characters, because I wouldn't let that happen, that made it possible for Dwayne McDuffie to write the Justice League, and that made it possible for Evan Narcias, to come in through the door, and for these other black writers to come through, for Brandon Thomas and David Walker. And
I say, you were the first full-time black writer at Marvel, if I remember correctly.
That's correct, but it seems to embarrass them when I mention this, because all of the biographies and all the histories of Marvel, this stuff is scrubbed. You don't read about Ramona Fradon being one of the first, if not the first, female artist, that came through the door. Now, who was the first Asian? These are important distinctions, and it's not just us being woke. They are important distinctions to model for the next generation. But it's like, no, I want to be taken seriously. I want to compete on a level playing field. And if I let them, label me, stick a, tuna, chunk light or whatever on me, then it's going to, it limits not only my horizons, but the horizons of everyone who comes in after me. And that's the distinction I'm trying to make. I'm not in the least bit embarrassed to be black. I'm not trying to not be black. That's just stupid, And I'm sorry that that we got it wrong. That I got it on the wrong foot with this content creator, and I hope he'd give me another chance.
I think they'll be all right. They'll be all right.
Now the question is, what does all this have to do with Sonja Reborn?
I was gonna say too. Shout out to Dennis Cowan, who was in the chat, who was saying hello.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Dennis.
Yeah.
Now, well, I'm going to get that phone call.
Yeah.
Why'd you say that? Why'd you say that to that guy? You don't understand.
Nah, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. That is cool. He's cool. But no, I wanted to ask because you're writing Red Sonja in Sonja Reborn, and this is going to be, to my understanding, probably the most different. Yeah, we were just talking about different, like trying to bring something different, which I kind of feel.
Having pissed off all the Black Panther fans, I am now moving over to really enrage the Red Sonja fans. If you're a hardcore Red Sonja fan, buckle up. This is really different.
Well, I was gonna say, if you really wanted to piss off the Red Sonja fans, I mean, you just make her black. But I mean, yeah, we're not race swapping. We're not race swapping Red Sonja. So I think
we are doing kind of a swap on Red Sonja. So this book is about an English woman from the year 2025 who stumbles through a dark tunnel and wakes up in the Hyborian age and discovers that she's Red Sonja. So it is kind of a deconstruction of the strong female character. It's the opposite of Rey in Star Wars, where Rey is this very capable person, and we're following her story. But, everywhere she goes, as soon as she picks up a blaster, she knows how to use it. As soon as she gets on a spaceship, she knows how to drive it. She's like, completely capable. And we're swapping that around to a woman who wakes up and she has the physique of Red Sonja, and she has all of her tools and her weapons, and she has this group of barbarians who obey her orders, and she has all the trappings of Red Sonja, so she's not Red Sonja, and she has to earn it. She has to earn. She is awakening in this world of wizards and dragons and barbarians. Every one of which is out to kill her. Everything in this world is out to kill her. So it's this interesting thing where I wanted to do. I have to keep calling it a deconstruction, but it's like a lot of sword and sorcery. We just kind of take it for granted. So we see, here's a character. They're on a horseback, and they got the sword, and they're like riding into battle. Okay, all right. So okay, stop. Let's back that up. Okay, so. How do you ride a horse? Okay, if you've never ridden a horse before. Riding a horse is not easy. No. Okay, if you've never ridden a horse before, there's a learning curve to riding a horse. Now, and at some point in the, so she's having trouble with the horse, and then at some point she gets dragged through the woods by this big scaly monster, and it's a terrifying moment. It's dark. It's the night. There's tentacles, and she's being dragged through this thickets and cut up by the thickets, and she's screaming her head off because I would too if I got dragged through the woods by the. You would too, right?
I would scream like a little girl.
So it wouldn't be a manly scream. It wouldn't be like it'd be like that.
Someone will be wondering who is accosting some young little girl. That's what people would be asking.
So she's doing all this screaming. So her squire, this is like 12-year-old boy, that is her squire. He takes care of the horse. He's her assistant, that kind of thing. He hears her screaming, and he goes, "Oh no, oh no, oh no!" And he goes running through the woods after Sonja. At some point, Sonja pulls her sword and hurls it at the monster, and the sword pokes itself at the monster, and the monster skitters away, lets her go, skitters away into the woods. Okay, so he catches up to her in the woods, and she's lying there, she's sitting there on the ground, and she's screaming, "Ah!" And he goes, "Stop that! Stop making that noise!" And she's like, "Well, why? I just got dragged through the woods by a big scaly monster." And he goes, "Yeah, but if you keep making that noise, your men might hear you." He's referring to these barbarians that are her gang, her bodyguard. If her gang hears her screaming, if they think she's afraid, they will turn on her and they will rape her and kill him, or worse, the other way around.
Right?
I'm warrior, right? but it's like it's all of these things. We are investigating how these things actually function. No, you cannot show weakness. No, she gets sick and she cannot. She has to somehow keep up the facade that she's well and bark orders at these guys, even though she can barely walk because she's so sick. She gets like a cut or like a minor infection or something like that. But in Hyboria, that can kill you, right?
You're right.
They want to get out of the woods because the monster thing. They want to get out of the woods. So let's get the hell out of here. And the squire goes, okay, great. Just as soon as we retrieve your sword. And she's like, retrieve my sword. The sword is stuck in a monster that went skittering like way back in the dark. I'm not going back there, And he's like, well, you got to go get your sword. And she's like, nah, I'll just get another one. And he goes, another what? Another sword. And he's like, he doesn't understand. Another sword? What do you mean another sword? Well, surely you have sword stores around here somewhere. Ernie, where do you get a sword?
Right. Well,
okay. Where do you get a sword? Where do you get a sword? The sword has to fit her. It has to be a certain length for her. It's got to have a certain balance for her. Okay.
Swords aren't exactly light.
You can't just pick up Codan's sword. Codan's sword is too long and much too heavy, and it's going to be inefficient in battle. Okay. When you have a sword in the Hyborian age, that's you don't leave that in the monster. You go after the monster to get the sword back. I mean, but these are the kind of things that we are kind of investigating, and we're taking it kind of one day at a time as this person becomes Red Sonja. Now, the question is, who is having this hallucination? Is this like this pasty, white lady from London who is having a hallucination when she's imagining herself as Red Sonja, or is Red Sonja under some spell or having a hallucination, imagining herself to be some futuristic lady from some place called London? You have to read the book to find out. But that's the elevator pitch. That's the thing. It's a very different take on Red Sonja, but it's a lot of fun, and hopefully you won't scream at as much as you did on the World to Come. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that when it comes to Red Sonja, there have been a lot of stories. Red Sonja's been around for a really long time. You could literally, like, when you feel like almost every possible Red Sonja story could have been told, and like someone comes up with an idea that's like, oh wow, no, this is something different. This is very like to kind of quote what someone else, and it was actually what I was thinking when I was originally looking at this. I was like, oh yeah, this is like one of those isekai anime type deals where like the character's transported to another world and they have to like figure out. Like the only question I would have is, did she get hit by a truck to get her there, or if it's just or if she just fell asleep and just maybe the box wine was hitting a little too good that night, or
the box wine.
I mean, I don't know.
Why is wine in a box? Let's discuss that.
Yeah, I mean I think that is a very. I think that is a very valid way to get to Hyborian age. I mean,
Well, again, I'm just tired of reading the same comic over and over again. And,
right.
When Dynamite approached me about Red Sonja, I didn't really have an idea for Red Sonja that was going to be markedly different. It'd be like, okay, let's wheel in another wizard, and she's running from this group of so-and-sos and that kind of thing. And I went, well, so this idea is not really my idea. This idea came from Robert E. Howard. So Robert E. Howard wrote a short story in, I think it was 1936, in one of those pulp magazines, and it was called People of the Dark, where a 20th century man passes through this tunnel, passes out, wakes up, discovers himself as Conan in the Hyborian age. Okay, so we're borrowing this premise from Robert E. Howard. We're telling a very different story, but the premise itself is not original. It's not my original premise. It's actually a Robert E. Howard premise, and ours is a lot more fun. Robert E. Howard, not so much fun. He takes it very seriously. And he's dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want now at this point. So, I mean, what's he going to say?
Well, yeah, that's true. And then Red Sonja is Roy Thomas's character. So Roy, I'll get nasty letters from Roy at some point. It'll take a while for this character to fully embrace. Like the people who are fans of the bloodletting and the barbarian hordes and all that stuff. We will get there eventually, but the early issues, she's going to be stumbling around a lot because I know I would be if I woke up and suddenly I was Conan, and I was like, oh man, where'd I get these abs? I got abs now,
right?
So there's going to be a learning curve. Now, people who have never read Red Sonja before, this is a perfect place for you because you don't need to know anything about Red Sonja or the Hyborian Age or Conan. Because Sonja doesn't know anything about it. So as she learns about this world, the new reader, the uninitiated reader will also come along and learn things about this world. So it's a perfect jumping on point to explore this kind of stuff. Now, people who are really immersed in this, I hope you don't take offense, but I hope you have a little patience with us because we're going to have a little fun with you. With this, because this is like, we're going to be asking questions that are never asked in barbarian comics. Like, where do you go to the bathroom? Where do you get the sword? That kind of thing. If the horse doesn't know you, he's going to throw you off. Okay. I had firsthand experience in being thrown off of my cousin's horse. Yes, my cousin had a horse, make something of that.
Yeah.
Okay? And my cousin's name was James Owsley. Isn't that fun? That's a true story. My name was James Owsley. My cousin's name, we call him Buck, but his name is James Owsley. And he had a horse. That bastard. He was 13 years old. He had a horse. I'm like, how do you get a horse? Well, he had a horse. And I went to ride his horse without a saddle.
Oh,
I climbed on the horse and I thought, well, I did this at summer camp, but it was, of course, with a saddle. But I didn't have a saddle. I climbed on this horse, and the horse started walking away, and then the horse started trotting away, and then the horse started like running away, and I just started like sliding, boom, and you fall off the horse, right?
Oh
and then I get up, and my cousin's horse is galloping across the field. I'm like, oh my God, I lost my cousin's horse. Now, I'm from New York City. I don't know anything about horses, okay? Horses are not nearly as stupid as we think they are, okay?
No.
They know where they live. They know where they live. They know their address. They know where the food is. He's not running away. He's just having fun, But I don't know this, so I'm panicking. I start running after the horse, okay? Ernie, the worst thing you can do if you fall off a horse is chase the horse. Okay, because now it's a game. Now the horse is like, "Hey, we got a game here." Now he's running, and horses, believe it or not, can run a lot faster than a 13-year-old boy. So I'm going out of breath chasing this horse. So finally, I stop and I see the horse galloping away, and I'm panicking and lost my cousin's horse, and I feel terrible. And then I see the horse stop, and he does something miraculous. He stops like way out somewhere. And he turns around and looks at me as if to say, "Aren't you coming?" Because he thinks it's a game.
Yeah. It's like running from a dog.
And the family, and my uncle's family, they're laughing at me because they're saying, don't worry about him. When he gets hungry, he will come back home. He knows where Ernie, So these are the kinds of things that these are the kind of questions we'll be asking.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kind of avenues we'll be exploring as this character. We could have called the book "Becoming Red Sonja" because that's what it's really about. So when we get to what the fans traditionally want to see, which is Red Sonja impossibly, laying waste to like hundreds of guys who are like way stronger than she is. When we get there, it'll feel like she earned it. It'll feel like, okay, we believe this now.
Well, and I think that's a pretty cool thing to do just because, under normal circumstances, you read a Red Sonja book, you just kind of know Red Sonja is going to, it's just like with most, larger than life heroes. Like, the good guys probably going to win somewhere in the end. They may not win like immediately, but at some point, they're they're gonna come out on top on some level, even if it's not like, the most clear cut victory.
Yeah.
And Red Sonja's one, and I know there's some people in the chat who aren't as familiar with Red Sonja, and I can just say this: whatever you think of characters like, whatever your idea of Conan the Barbarian is, like, the guy that's like, bigger and badder than everybody else, who beats up the bad guys and is like the toughest SOB in the world, and all that other stuff. Red Sonja's kind of the same thing, only like she's not a man and she is a lot hotter than Conan. Just laying my cards on the table.
Well, we're also like interjecting this notion of like, okay, so when we start talking about the strong female character, to my mind, what I liked more than I liked, now, no, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff in the J.J. Abrams Star Wars that I thought worked well and that I enjoyed. And I didn't think Rey was a terrible character, but we had to flog her as it made no sense that she was just great at everything she did. Okay?
Naturally great, just like ridiculously great.
Right. Now let's look at Matt Reeves' Batman movie. Okay. So we have Zoe Kravitz playing Catwoman. Okay. Now she's smart. She's capable. She's a good fighter. She knows her weapons. She's good with that whip, all that stuff. But what happens to her the first time she meets Batman is Batman effortlessly pins her down to the table with one hand, which is exactly what would happen if a 5'6", 120-pound woman went up against a 6'2" guy trained by the League of Assassins. You understand?
Right.
Now that took nothing away from her as a strong female character or as a woman or as any of that stuff. She was very credible in all aspects, but the film did not insult our intelligence by having her take out a room full of guys. So with Sonja, my approach to Sonja is similar to that, where yes, she is a very capable, very strong person, but she's also a very smart person who recognizes, who uses her psychology and wits as much as she uses her sword, and her physicality, and part of her deal here is it's just like being the captain of a ship. If you're the captain of a ship, if you're a Navy captain, you can never show weakness to your men, even if you are scared, even if you're not certain of which way to go or what the plan of action is. You have to, be Jean-Luc Picard at all times and keep that facade up, because once the men lose confidence in you, it's utter chaos. And that's the truth of her situation, where she's, the question is, how does a single character of her physicality, sexuality, of her particular set of attributes, how does this person survive in this hostile environment? Go right. That's the goal. So I hope that people will kind of like hang with us and have a little patience and not come after me the way they did over this Black Panther.
It's like I could maybe see, like, kind of like you were saying earlier, like the diehard, like the people who are already like super duper mega ultra into Red Sonja. I can see where like you might have to like win them over a little bit just because they're used to seeing a very like specific thing. But I feel like if you read enough comics, and I'm asking a lot here, but I feel like if you read enough comics, I think at some point you have to recognize that not every story is going, and nor should it be, every story is not going to be the same. It's kind of like I tell people all the time, people say they want to see new stuff, but they go in the shop and they buy the same 12 copies of Batman like every week. They buy the same 12 copies of Wolverine, Spider-Man. Like they say they want new, but they don't really want new. They want comfort. But sometimes a thing I've really come to believe is that a lot of us don't really know what the fuck we want until
until we see it.
someone gives it to us. Oh my God. I can't count how many times I've said this because I've said it so much, but like, especially since I started, doing this, as a job, like reading comics, talking about comics. The thing I've constantly said more often than not is, I didn't know I wanted this fill in the blank thing that I just read, but now here we are, and I have it, and I'm glad that I actually gave this a chance. That's kind of a thing I feel like we kind of have to get people back in the mindset of that. Maybe just because this isn't normally your thing that you normally like to pick up every Wednesday or whatever, maybe give it a shot, because you might see something that. Because hell, I didn't know I liked Red Sonja until, like, probably, like, I was in my late teens, early 20s. I mean, I had seen the original movie, and I knew that there were comics, but there weren't, like, something that I was like, ooh, I want to check that out. Yeah, I didn't know until way later.
Good. The movie wasn't good.
No, it wasn't. It was bad. It was like even as a kid, I knew. I was like, "Ooh, this ain't good." Like this is and I was a kid who like was super mega ultra into like stuff like Conan, but it was just like when I saw Red Sonja, I was like, I don't know about this. Something's not passing the smell test here. And I guess, you know what? Let me ask you this, because I'm curious to know your thoughts. I don't know if you have any insight on this, but because technically there's a new Red Sonja movie coming out. So how does it kind of feel to have like a Red Sonja book coming out around a time where like a lot of people's eyes are probably going to be kind of looking in that direction because of the upcoming movie.
Film? Yeah. And that's scary. Because I went through this with Black Adam,
Oh yeah.
Now the studio never let me see the script to Black Adam, so I couldn't tie my series into the film if I wanted to, and I really didn't want to. I really did. I felt like every time somebody writes Black Adam, they wheel in Hawkman and the Atom and all this other stuff, and they do that because they don't know how to write Black Adam. So if you don't know how to write a character, what do? You bring in other people in capes, because now
like as a crutch.
Yeah, because now you have to write fewer lines. Black Adam gets fewer lines because now there's all these other characters that need to be serviced. So anytime you see somebody like, okay, the story, the book is titled Potato Man, but here's Carrot Boy and Fish Head and all these other guys that are hanging around for no reason whatsoever. It's usually because the writer doesn't know how to write Potato Man or can't find his wood, and I found my wood on page 1 with Black Adam, and I had to fight for that page 1 where he's before the Senate committee and he's like yawning and he's telling these people off, and he basically Black Adam is kind of like Prince Namor, where he has like utter contempt for us in our way of life.
Right. Like he's a leader. He's a guy that literally sits on a throne.
Right.
And and there's not really much on Earth that can really like bother him. So it's like, being in a Senate meeting would probably be literally the biggest waste of his time, in his opinion. And I think there's a story there. I think that there's
also
a story
talking about about how at the time the United States apportioned their foreign aid, and why Egypt was getting this amount and Kahndaq was not getting that amount, or whatever the story was, and how they were kind of pitting certain nations against each other, but there was some nuance there that we'd never seen before, because when to me the Black Adam series was really about Teth Adam. It was about the guy he turns into when he powers down. It was about this tortured guy who was kind of trapped here. But anyway, back to Red Sonja.
Yes.
I don't have access to the Red Sonja script either. So obviously my Red Sonja comic verges on satire. It walks right up to satire. It's not satire, but it tiptoes pretty close to the line of satire, because we're having a lot of fun here.
Right.
And I hope it enhances and contributes to the other Red Sonja material that's out there. I hope it enhances and contributes to the interest that is spurred by the movie. But it's not an adaptation of the movie,
Right.
because they don't trust me. So I don't know what I didn't get the plot. I didn't know.
I
Yeah.
I
I
feel like
assume there's
that's
got to be a movie book out there. That would make sense to me. That there's got to be a Red Sonja movie comic book
right.
out there somewhere.
There
I'm just not
usually
the guy writing
is.
it. Yeah.
Like there's almost always an adaptation, like because I remember that was kind of my thing as a kid, is that like when movies would come out, I would always get the books. Here's the novel adaptation of Batman Forever, whatever, whatever
Right.
thing, and while most of the time, I usually enjoyed them. But
What I'm trying to do is open the door wider and not just
bring in those other people.
Not just speak to the Red Sonja audience, but like, okay, now here's a group of people who, for reasons I'll never understand, like my work. So they're following the author and not so much the character. So now this might be their first Red Sonja book, because I'm writing it, and hopefully, we have like one issue, maybe two, to win them over, and to get them to lock in, so hopefully, we will add to the Red Sonja audience by telling a broader story that would be appealing to a larger audience. Let's put it that.
Well, I mean, I think that I think that that's a great way to do things. I mean, yeah, if you're only appealing to the people who are already going to show up, you're not growing an audience. You gotta and I think I might have read this somewhere from another interview you had done recently, but I remember you were talking about satire a minute ago, and that was kind of one of the things that actually made me a little more interested, because it kind of put me more in the mind of and I do highly recommend, if anyone's interested, go check it out. But in Quantum and Woody, which is literally chock to the gills, with all kinds of satire and commentary, and I was
including pages where they broke the fourth wall, to talk directly to the reader, while insulting Acclaim Comics, while we're biting the hand that feeds us,
which
pulling a
I'm not
David
gonna
Letterman,
that was. And to this day, because I know exactly which one you're talking about, because that's actually one of my favorite.
The Noogie issue,
no, that was that to this day. I'm not bullshitting you, Mr. Priest. I'm not bullshitting. To this day, whenever someone asks me, "Hey, what's up with Quantum and Woody? Is this something I should check out?" I always say, "Hey, look, let me just." This is going to be your litmus test as to whether or not you're going to be able to rock with this book. Is I want to show you just a couple of panels, and I want to see what you say. Like, do you giggle? Because I giggled. Like I giggled. Like,
or do you get offended?
Or do you get offended?
Woody's holding up this big card that says the N word.
Right.
On the card, right? And he's like, okay, whenever you hear the word noogie, it's a substitute for the N word, because what happened was, when I write scripts, I send a script in, and the script might have some profanity. Sorry, it might have some profanity. It might have,
we're adults here.
Might have the N word. It might have some stuff like that. It gets cleaned up on rewrite, right? So Fabian, who was the editor in chief, of the Acclaim Comics at the time, somehow this script came across his desk, and this is what happens: is that white people start panicking, and I don't know why they do, but they do. And then, instead of talking to me, they huddle, they start having meetings, and then I get this call from Fabian, and he's like, well, Jim, he calls me Jim, long story. Well, Jim, we read the story. It's a very funny story. We went around the room a little bit, and then we sat down with some lawyers and talked to some lawyers about it. And I go, what are you talking about? And then he says, well, finally he kind of like gets around to, I didn't know what he's talking about. And he goes, well, the N word. I go, Fabian, I wasn't actually going to use that word. That would have got cleaned up on rewrite. That was just, at first pass, and that was just me being silly. But that's what inspired that bit. I had the same problem at DC over something that went into Deathstroke. I don't remember what it was. I remember there was a character called the Red Lion, who
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
parody of Black Panther, but he was like an evil dictator instead of a benign dictator. You
Mhm.
know, and the Red Lion kept talking about, he always wanted to be like great Whelan. I want to be a great Whelan. And the guys at DC, they kept going, "What's a Whelan? What are you talking about? What's a Whelan?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He said, "With Red Lion, he keeps talking about being a Whelan. What does that mean? What's a Whelan?" I go, "You gotta hire some Black people." you know,
Well,
honest to God, Dan, I was talking to Dan DiDio. I said, "Dan, you really got to hire some Black people. You guys are just impossibly white." Said, "This guy is from Africa, okay, and you're reading it in your dialect. You're reading
right.
it in a very Anglo dialect. Now read it like an African. I want to be, a super Whelan. What's Whelan
Right.
mean? And I'm going, okay.
Right.
So they had some meeting. It wasn't about this, but it was about something else, some other bit in Deathstroke. And I get this call from my editor, and he's like, "Well, and again, they had these meetings, and that I knew nothing about. Why are you having meetings about me without including me in the meeting? So we had these meetings, and he goes, "Well, we went around the room, and and where we came out on is we just really feel that this is going to offend Black people, and we just can't have it in the book." And I go, "Okay, so you went around the room, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Let me ask you something. Were there any Black people in this room that you went around?"
I don't see any brothers on the wall.
Because you guys are deciding for me what will offend Black people. Now I'm telling you, nah, this ain't gonna bother them. This is easy. Don't even worry about it. It's nothing. It's a nothing burger. But apparently I'm not Black enough for you to take my word for it. Because you're gonna huddle with a bunch of white people, and you're gonna tell me what offends Black people. And it really kind of bugs me when liberals, whatever color they are, and I'm not talking about politics,
Mm.
but it's usually liberals who do this, who are very worried about offending some. Because
Yeah.
conservatives, they're not so offended about offending people.
No.
They're really not. They're like, let's go for it, and then all of a sudden everybody's Bill Burr, right?
Right.
Bill Burr. But liberals, they really don't. They really want to, be nice to everybody, and they don't want to offend anybody, and I certainly understand that. And the company wants to take whatever stance that they want to take, and I respect their right to do that. But I think it's, like I can't make them understand how I'm trying not to use the word racist. It is to have this discussion and not include any Black people in the discussion. That you're taking a custodial position over the Black community because you know better than we do about what will offend us, or you're more worried about what might offend white liberals on our behalf. Yeah. You're not really worried that we'll get offended. You're worried that people will call you racist, that other people will call you racist, even though you're not being racist at all.
Right.
And there's no problem with this joke or this bit or whatever. Trust me, Black people, they got a sense of humor. We have a sense of humor. We really do. We can take a punch. We can take a laugh. We can take a joke. So that's kind of a position I find myself in repeatedly, where I'm trying to calm nerves and reassure people that Black people are not nearly as thin-skinned. They're not going to picket your office.
No.
All
God,
right,
no.
we have a sense of humor. We'll get past this, but at the same time, they have a business to run. They have things that they need to protect, and I respect their right to do that. But it is awfully frustrating. Stop having meetings. If you're going to have meetings, at least invite us to the meetings. That's all.
Right? Like, like why are we not? Why are we not in the room when these things when these things are happening? Like I
don't know. I guess it's just too uncomfortable. I don't know what it is. But it's not like I'm gonna go, just explode and go all Luke Cage on him. I'm like, okay, I'm just telling you. Ernie, I'm telling you, the joke is funny.
Yeah.
Black people will get it. They won't be offended by it. Let's move on. I mean, we went to see Kill Bill. We went to see Django Unchained.
Django, yeah, I was about to say.
That was really offensive. We went to see Pulp Fiction. Quentin Tarantino looks into the camera and goes, does it look like my house has this big sign on it says "Dead Nigger Storage"?
Like
that was hilarious. I laughed my butt off. Calm down. It's funny.
There's a point where, like, I mean, I think, and this is kind of how I look at stuff. I don't ever look at things like on a blanket level.
Yeah.
I usually tend, I at least try to look at them on like a case by case basis. Like, one of the things that probably comes up more often than not is like, Tropic Thunder, Robert Downey Jr. and blackface. Do I find blackface offensive? Yes, generally I do.
Yeah.
But do I find his instance of blackface offensive? I mean,
it's the execution.
It's the
How does it do? Yeah.
And it's not like it's being I know some people probably see it as being glorified, but like there are multiple points, like, and this is why I always say like media literacy is important. There's multiple points where people are like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. Like it's not like this thing that's being like, "Oh my God, look how brave he is." It's like no, this. Yeah. I mean, it's funny, but I mean it's uncomfortable, and sometimes I think when a story. I think too often when a story makes us feel uncomfortable or kind of test our sensibilities, people are too quick to immediately assume that that's bad, and but aren't taking the time to actually like engage with the story. I would rather engage with the story, and like kind of like you were talking about earlier, where there were people who were getting mad about the world to come that had not even read it. Yeah, and even people, when I talked about it online, I saw people like, because I was playing it for laughs, but like there were people who got legitimately offended, and I was like, well, I read it, and I don't really see it the way you see it. So I was like, look, I'm going to wait till it's done before I like say...
And then let's have a legitimate discussion. Right. And I, you know what? And I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that discussion. But I think that, you made all those points. They're all really good points. I would rather, though, you as the consumer, as the reader, as a content creator, I would rather you had the opportunity to evaluate whatever it is, if it's a joke, if it's a bit, whatever it is, and let you decide whether it's offensive or not, rather than us self-censor because we're so afraid of everybody. Right now, it's such a hostile environment for free speech that people are just terrified. Stephen Colbert, that people are just absolutely terrified. Somebody asked me on one of these podcasts, oh no, I was interviewed at one of these conventions recently that I was at, and somebody asked me in the interview, who's my hero? And I said, my hero is Jimmy Kimmel. And he looked really kind of puzzled because I guess he was meant like, what superhero do I like? And I would same answer, Jimmy Kimmel, because every night this guy goes out on stage and he just keeps going after him, and he goes after him hard, and that's a risky thing to do in these days and times, as we see, and I admire anyone who has the bravery to stand up for what they believe, and so I'm not a big fan of publishers pulling back. I think, if what you're publishing does not make you a little bit nervous, it's probably not worth publishing. Larry Hama and I used to run a magazine called Crazy Magazine. And we did this parody of the Flintstones called the Brownstones. And it was like, what if the Flintstones were black? And it was terribly offensive. It was beyond the pale offensive, right? But it was hilarious, right? So we have the book wrapped up, and I'm getting ready to take it over to Chemical Color. That was the people who did who made the film and made the plates and stuff, and then they would go off to Sparta, Illinois. We used to print everything in the United States. Oh, imagine that. We used to do the stuff here. So I'm the guy who takes it across town. So we got all the it's all packaged up and it's on Larry's desk, and Larry sits there and he puts his feet up on his desk and he lights up a cigarette. Now, Larry was not much of a smoker. I don't think he smokes at all now, but at the time, he really wasn't much of a smoker. So when Larry lit up a cigarette, that meant he was really stressed out. And he's sitting there behind his desk and he's smoking a cigarette. And he looks over at me and he goes, "You realize this could get us both canned." And then he laughs maniacally, right? And we just figured, because I don't think we showed it to Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter was the editor-in-chief. I don't think Jim knew, And,
oh, wow.
And yeah. And he was like, we could probably get canned for this. And he goes, "Oh, what the hell? Send it out." And Ernie, we never heard a peep about that book. We never heard even one complaint about that book. And it was, I assure you, very funny. Just like when Eddie Murphy did that bit on Saturday Night Live where he went undercover as a white guy.
Oh, yeah.
That was hilarious. And I'm like, stop already. Stop.
Well, I mean, like I said, if something's done with proper execution,
yeah,
I think you can.
That's the trick.
And that's all it ever is. It's like I remember, what was it the other day? Stephen King got in some heat for making a very poorly timed joke, and I was like, well, if it was a joke, it for goddamn sure wasn't funny. But if it was a funny joke, you wouldn't be in trouble. I said that's the trick. If you're gonna tell a joke, make it good.
Well, if you buy a ticket to see Dave Chappelle's show or the Chris Rock show, then there's a social contract there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't go and see these guys and then now you get on your blog and start ripping them to shreds. It's like, look, this is who Dave Chappelle is. And I'm not defending Dave, and I'm not coming to crucify Dave. I'm just acknowledging the Dave-ness of Dave, right?
Anyone who's in that audience, they knew what they signed up for.
Right. Yeah. And I think to a certain extent, I think we can get a little excited about Matt Fraction coming on to Batman,
Yeah.
And when you buy a Tom King comic, you're expecting a certain thing from Tom King, or Gail Simone comic. You're looking forward to what she has to offer, whatever like that. There's very few fans out there who buy stuff blindly. Well, I don't know who this person is. These people know who Chrsitopher Priest is, and you either into him or you think he's a moron. And both camps are right. Both camps are completely right. Okay, because I'm likely to do all kind of stuff. All kind of crazy. I think you said that.
I was saying.
Likely to do anything.
And I meant that as a compliment.
I feel you. But I feel like when you buy one of my comic books, there's kind of a social contract there, which I try to get through to Acclaim or DC, whatever, and make people understand. Like, no, people who buy my comics, they get it. They're in on the joke.
Right.
So yeah.
I'll say this. For anyone that is. Because, like I said, I think by this point, I think most people are probably at least somewhat familiar. Yeah. But for a lot of people who, like, if you have never read, God help you, if you've never read a book that Chrsitopher Priest has worked on, I actually put a list of books that I recommend. I have left links for them for you to go check out. You can go pick them up and give them a read. And these are books that I have not just saying, oh, here's just a random list of books that no, these are books I read. I actually took the time to sit down and read. It's just go check them out. And I will also say too, once again, yes, I got right here. Yeah, August 6th. Sonja Reborn, go check it out. If
you like continuity, if you like that Marvel Knights Black Panther, those early issues of Black Panther, that's the tone. That's what we're getting it there for that book.
I don't know if y'all can get away with this at Dynamite. I don't know if Nick can do this, but I'm actually gonna make I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna have to email. I'm gonna email Nick this. He might be listening, but I'm gonna email him this too. But I think that's actually how maybe the book should be pitched. I don't know if that's. I haven't seen. I haven't really paid a lot of attention to like a lot of like solicits lately. But like, I will definitely say, I think it would actually be a really smart move to like, because this is how they used to the salesman in me is how sometimes people say break it down to its most simplistic parts, like it's Quantum and Woody meets Marvel Knights Black Panther, in the Hyborian age, and that's it. That's it. You don't need to say anything else. I think anyone who is open minded and willing to try something different, I think. Like, because that has me, like, because as we've been talking, I was just kind of sitting there thinking, like, it is. This sounds like it's Quantum and Woody, with some some that, Black Panther isms and in the land of Conan.
I think I'm talking about Acclaim. Excuse me. I think Dynamite actually ran in the most recent issues across their line. I think they ran like a 5-page, preview that. I think it's the scene of Sonja trying to ride the horse, and she finally gets on the horse, and the snotty little brat that's her squire. He's talking to her, and she's like, okay, she's looking up the hill at this castle, at this fortress that's on fire at the top of the hill. And she's finally on top of the horse, and she's like, all right, let's get up there and help those people. And the squire's like, help those people? She's like, yeah. I go, we're the ones attacking the fortress.
It's like,
and she's like, what you mean we did this? And he goes, yes, we did this. That's what barbarian means. So it's very much in that tone. Let me give you another link that I should have sent you by email, but I'll follow up by email. But it's priest. Letter M, letter X, Mary X-ray, priest.mx/Vampy, V as in Victor, AMPI, priestmx/Vampy. That takes you to my Vampirella sampler. It is a free download of samples of pages from our Vampirella series. It is like a clip show, like you got the Seinfeld's, fifth anniversary, whatever, and they'd have a little clip show. So it's like a clip show. It's like where we're taking like the best little bits of our Vampirella series, because there are people who are afraid to buy the thing because the covers are so sexy or whatever, and they can't quite get past the cover. But the Vampirella book,
I was one of those people a long time ago.
Very quickly, the Vampirella book it's about a single girl trying to make it on her own in the big city. She just happens to be a vampire from outer space.
I'm in.
It's fun. It has a lot of poignancy. It's got, of course, the usual biting and bloodletting. But it's we struggled with this with Deathstroke, where people thought Deathstroke was about the world's greatest assassin, and it was every cover had him holding a bloody sword and somebody's head in his hand. Deathstroke. And that's not what the book was about at all. The covers were a little misleading. The Deathstroke was a book about the world's worst dad. That's what that book was about. Okay,
that's why I liked it.
And Vampirella is about the same thing that most of us struggle with: finding meaning in community and stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun. And as with Red Sonja, I am trying to open the door wider to Vampirella as well. So free comics, kids. priest.mx/Vampy. Go get that.
Well, I'm at like that link. That link is being added, and
Appreciate
I hope. Oh yeah, dude. Anytime. Like I hope you all will take advantage of it. Because I mean, look, I think any day that I get to check out some cool comics.
For free?
I mean, look, I don't know if y'all are aware, but comics cost money.
Which is kind of a
And
shame. I mean,
yeah.
a long time ago, back at when I was an editor back during the Nixon administration, comics were like, people are bringing me my comics, and they say 25 cents or they say 50 cents, and I'm going, oh my god, am I that old? But you could go to the comic shop and come out with a stack, Ernie.
Yeah.
And you could afford to come out with a stack every week, and it was, and the publishers were thriving, and the fans were having a good time, and it's I'm not blaming the companies. The reality is the price of shipping has gone through the roof. The price of printing has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Paper has gone through the roof. Right?
Which is insane. Just
now, I haven't had like a real raise, like a raise that you would actually notice, in more than a decade, maybe almost 2 decades. It's been a very long time. So comic book creators, we're not, we're doing okay, but we're not, it's not like we're not the cause of the comics going up in price. And it's really, and it's not the greed of the publishers, because the publishers are barely making any money now at all.
Right.
It is postage, it is paper, it is printing that is driving the cost up. So, you got $5 comics, which is, 10 times more expensive than I think they should be. And it's hard to come out with a stack unless you really are well heeled.
Right. I was gonna say which is just that. Yeah, it's. I remember when I was a kid, comics were still like one. Like they were like I think they were still like $1, and I think like the most they had gotten to like at a certain point was like maybe like $1.25, like $1.50 or something like that. Like you were getting like something like it was just like like more like an anniversary, like annual issue, or like just a giant size, whatever. Some like maybe $2 was probably like the most you probably would have spent on a single issue of anything. But like those days have that's I see those prices get sad.
We released Spider-Man versus Wolverine in 1987, and the book was $2.50, and everybody was like, "Clutch the pearls! Oh my god, that's so expensive!" And we sold a ton of them, and I've yet to do a show where where I'm not signing 10, 15, 20 copies of that. Like, people remember that book very fondly, and a lot of people bought it. But yeah, it was like back in the day, $2.50 was like, wow, Marvel is just getting so greedy. That was like a shock to the system. $2.
Dude, what? Now you get there, it's like $3.99, $4.99. It's like, whoa.
A comic book coming out for $2.50, that would be a bargain. We'd snap that up. I don't even know what this is. I'm getting it. $2.50. Yeah.
I'm like, of course. Hell, give me 3 of them. But I want to pass these out. But no, I think that, at some point, maybe, I don't know if it'll, I mean, honestly, nothing ever really gets cheaper anymore. It just always, just becomes more expensive. So I imagine we'll probably, at some point, somewhere down the road, comics might be like $5 or $6 regularly. And somewhere in there, I will grit my teeth, but probably continue buying because, I love comics.
People still like the paper.
Yeah.
For a while, we thought everything was going to go digital, and we found out, just through the other publishers, we really found out that no, people really still want. They're collectibles. They're like baseball cards.
Yeah.
People really want to hold these things in their hand. They'll read them online, but they really want to own them.
Yeah. I like to have a physical. Well, and also because companies go defunct and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
I pull the library down. Right.
Right. I like to have a system of ownership, so like I can say this is mine. I have it. There's something oddly pleasing about being able to reach out and grab a book off of a shelf, and actually be able to say, "Hey, this is mine. Like I bought this." It has weight, it has heft. But that's what I'm gonna encourage all of y'all, who are here. I'm gonna encourage all of y'all to go do that, because if you don't, you won't get new things anymore, because that's kind of how this works.
Yeah.
And real quick, before we get at it, I want to give away a little trade secret to the people in the audience who are watching this. if you go pick up Sonja Reborn, you get your LCS, and especially if you really enjoy it, I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret. Ask for the book to be placed on your pull list in its entirety, so that way you get more awesome and new books. Because pre-orders, unlike any other industry in the world, comics thrive on pre-orders. There's no industry in existence that I'm aware of that pays as close attention to pre-orders. So please do that. And funny story, if you're a mad lad and you absolutely really enjoy Sonja Reborn, like so much you're like, man, I wish that Dynamite would bring Christopher back to write a whole mess of Sonja Reborns. Guess how you get that? You get it
book. Yes.
by supporting the damn book. So that is so yeah. That's the best I can give you guys. You do that, and you will. And I promise you, because people like money, and if they see it's making money, you might get some more of it. I just have it on good authority. But please,
from living under a bridge. Yes.
Yeah. No. We do not want him living under a bridge. We do not want him. We do not want him sitting outside, under a bridge with a sign saying "We'll write comics for food." We do not want that. We do not want it.
We'll script for food. Yeah.
Right. So I'll just say, also, I think we already kind of like talked about some of those things, these other things you have going on, but like, obviously Marvel, Marvel Knights of the World to Come. Yes. Keep going to go check those books out, because I promise you, there's a wild story in there, and when you get there, if you're willing to ride, I think you're gonna find something pretty crazy by the time you get to the end of that tale. But is there anything else you wanted to promote while you were still here?
We talked about Vampirella. We talked about that. Okay, and
which, by the way, link in the description for the Vampirella preview. Go check it out.
Thank you for that. I get yelled at every time I talk about other stuff that is not announced yet.
Oh, I don't want to get you in trouble.
So I'm going to just shut my mouth. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in the pipeline. We're developing a new DC thing. We have a humanoids thing. We have something going on with a couple other publishers that I won't mention, because they don't want people to even know I'm associated with them. That's how secret this is.
That is crazy.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And hopefully, within the next year or so, we'll be talking more about Zero.
I was gonna say that's another one, because that just got announced to getting a reprint.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be announced. It's like that's the plan, is to do a collection of the original series. The holdup is me. I'm the holdup right now.
You are the drama.
Yeah, I have it more or less on hold, because we are in. I think the kindest way to describe it is we are in. Development hell with the Zero feature. So it's like, I want to get those ducks in a row and then promote things, with a strategy, instead of like, okay, we'll put this out and we'll do that out.
That's fair. That's fair.
So stay tuned for that. When we're ready to talk about that, we will, we'll be more concrete about it. But yeah, that is the plan. But first, I just want to know, what we're doing. It's a rough time for superhero movies. Everybody's got their knives out, and it's fun to kind of like, attack. Dwayne
Stab.
Johnson. Dwayne Johnson. Thank God. God bless Dwayne Johnson for going out and selling Black Adam. He sold a lot of comic books. I know that. And the Black Adam film, it wasn't a flop. It really wasn't. It was like, on the cusp of the pandemic, and with everything else going on, they did really well with that movie, you know.
I must say,
And
financially, it was, to my understanding, not. It was like it was. I think it was critics that were really what people
well, it
focused
wasn't a
on the
disaster,
most.
but they put a lot
Yeah.
of money out in promotion and things like that that
Mhm.
they have to recoup. And I understand, you know, those numbers and so forth. But I also understand that Mr. Johnson, I mean, he was like a door to door salesman on that movie, and he went way above and beyond.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he talked
Yeah. No, he
that
did.
movie
He
up
did.
every chance he got. So God bless you, Mr. Johnson, because
Mhm.
we sold a lot of Black Adam comics, you know, but I guess they don't want to make them anymore. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, you know, but it's just a tough time, you know.
Mhm.
So I am pulling for Fantastic Four. I think it's a fun movie. I think everybody should go see it. You know, I'm pulling for Superman,
Mhm.
for Mr. Gunn. I'm pulling for, you know, whatever he's got up his sleeve with Supergirl. You know,
Mhm.
because their success is our success, and
And
that helps. You know, that boosts a rising tide. Whatever, floats
all
all boats. So
boats. Yeah.
whatever the story is there, but yeah, it's a tough time. So
Mhm.
so that's part of the drag. With maybe a Vampirella feature or a Zero feature or some other. There's a lot of things that are in the pipeline, but there is a lot of sort of like, well, we have to time these things right. And
Mhm.
so we'll keep you posted when we know more. When I can be less vague. I'm being very vague now. When I can be less vague,
Right. That's
I will.
fair.
Okay.
Well, I will say that this I'll give you this one right here. This is we got Bruce Roberts who came in with a $20 super chat, says, "Love your work, Mr. Priest. You made Black Panther spectacular again."
Thank
So
you.
there you go. That see, it's not all hate. It's not all hate. We got some people out here for you. We got some
Thank you.
people out here for you. So yeah, hey, yeah, like I said, yeah, we're gonna get
Trust
those.
the
But
Panther. I mean, I think
yeah.
what I've told people is I think that the final page of issue number 1, that's the least interesting thing about this book. You have seen nothing yet. Joe Quesada is an absolute lunatic.
Yeah.
When he took this little story that I had, I wrote him a little story, like two guys walk in a bar, done, the end, right? I wrote him a very simple story, and then Joe is the guy who went, and then Galactus, and then Ant-Man, and then, and he's throwing in all this stuff. And he's really, I give him all the credit in the world that Joe really elevated this thing into an utterly complete, oh my God, mind blowing experience. And I'm going, that song Billie Jean by
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, and it starts with this
Yeah.
drum beat. It's like boom tat, right? And then the bass player comes in, do 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 do. Lewis Johnson, right? Right? Okay, this thing with the revelation of Katama at the end. And by the way, you're the only guy to pronounce his name right. Thank you. Thank you.
See, I pay attention. I pay
Okay, so,
attention.
so so this revelation of Katama at the end of issue 1, that's just the drum beat. That's just the boom, tat,
Yeah.
bing. You've seen nothing. The book doesn't even get good to issue 3.
See?
Okay, issue 3. Oh,
It's like, okay, now we got a ball game.
issue 3. You start to see some. You have seen nothing yet. Issue 3 that we have just buttoned up, that's going out the door. And I honestly, my hand to camera here, or Vishnu, or whoever you believe in here,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell you the book. I'm just telling you that it took me by surprise, all this hue and cry over issue 1 when I know what's coming up, and I'm going, you ain't seen nothing yet.
It's like, oh, y'all talk. You think you're talking now?
Oh man, Lewis Johnson's about to play. Get issue 3, bro. Here's your thing.
Well, I mean, I'm in. So I'll say, like I said, yeah. All I can do, all I can do is just go along for the ride and just enjoy. So that's where I'm at. But I don't know about the rest of y'all. Y'all might have to y'all gonna just have to keep up. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know we went over a little bit, but I appreciate you hanging around. And I like I said, you are always welcome. you are always welcome back. So, like I said, maybe get you back. Maybe we can talk some more about what's going on. Maybe educate some people about what's happening in the world to come once maybe some more details get out there and maybe make people mad or sad or cry or
yes, but just remember, I'm the guy that's brought them all together.
That's true.
We're
that's
finally
true.
together. I have united America. Who's united America? Chrsitopher Priest.
I mean, Chrsitopher Priest did it. I mean, now you just need to have a little pin that says yes he can. Yes he can.
Yes,
can he unite them? Yes, he
there
can.
we go. Absolutely. Now I got a look on my shoulder for the rest of my life.
Well, hey, thank you so much, and everybody else. Well, I'll see y'all later this week, and we'll maybe talk about Fantastic Four. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But good night, everybody.